Good evening. This evening is our Bible study, and it's in the week of Passover. So, if we were to trace our steps in time, some 2,000 years, it would be like 3 days before the Passover. Yeshua, in fact, was taken that evening of the 13th after he had had a meal with his disciples and had washed their feet. And after praying in the Garden of Gethsemane, they took him and tried him many times, and subsequently he was crucified. And so Sabbath coming will be the Pesach, will be the Passover, and Sunday will be the Feast of Unleavened Bread, meaning that we will have a double Sabbath back to back. That's Saturday and Sunday. And most people will not even participating that in that they violate the covenant agreement. Tonight we want to take a fleeting look at Revelation in relation to Zachariah so that we can frame the events that are taking place in our world and try to make sense of them. As we all know that we live in an age where countries are warring against each other. And you get the impression that it has something to do with Psalm chapter 2. Why are the nations raging? Why? Why are they raging? And tariffs are being sent out like graffiti. And you're wondering what is happening. And one gets the impression we could conjecture that if this continue unabated, it could well lead to Revelation chapter 13 and 16 reading on, that no one will be able to buy or sell. And so tonight we want to first look at Hebrews chapter 1. Last Sabbath, we read earnestly that Yahweh, who at sundry times and in diverse manners spoke in the past unto the fathers of the prophet, in these last days, he's speaking to us through his Son. We read that. By whom also he made the worlds, who being the brightness of his glory and the express image of his person, and upholding all things by the word of his power, when he had by himself purged our sin, he purged our sins, and then he sat at the right hand of the majesty on high. So, Sabbath, we emphasize the point that Yeshua is better than all who had come before him, and even those who come after him. So we were looking at his greatness. And tonight we want to look at Revelation chapter 10 also. So come with me to Revelation chapter 10. And the word says, "And I saw another mighty angel come down from heaven, clothed with a cloud, and a rainbow was up on his head, and his face was as it were the sun, and his feet as a pillar of fire. And immediately we want to ask the question, well, who is this angel? Who is this angel? We read in Shemot chapter 34 and verse 5 that, and Yah descended in a cloud, just like this angel here in Revelation chapter 10, and stood with him there and proclaimed the name of Yahweh. So we know Yeshua clothed himself in a cloud. We also read in Matthew 24 and verse 30 that then will appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then all the tribes of the earth will mourn, and they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. We can also read in Lamentation chapter 3 and verse 4 to 4, it says, Thou hast covered thyself with a cloud, that our prey should not pass through. So Revelation chapter 4 and verse 3 says, And he that sat was to look upon like a jasper and a sardis stone, and there was a rainbow round about the throne in sight like unto an emerald. So I'm reading all those texts to emphasize the point here that is expressed in Revelation chapter 10, where Johanan writes, And I saw another mighty angel come down from heaven. An angel often is referred to as a messenger, clothed with a cloud and a rainbow. We also know that in chapter 9 of Bereshit, that's Genesis, Yah made a covenant with Noah, and he used a rainbow as a symbol for that. So it's perhaps reasonable here to conclude that this angel here, this messenger here in Revelation chapter 10, is none other than Yeshua himself. So when we read that in context of Hebrews chapter 1, that tells us that he's speaking to us now, and he's about now, as we read through Revelation 10, to speak to Johanan, so we have a duty to listen to him. What did he say to Johanan? Johanan says in verse 2, And he had in his hand a little book, and he set his right foot upon the sea, and his left foot upon the earth. We read in Revelation 12 that the earth represents a sparsely populated place, and the sea, multitudes of people. And cried with a loud voice, as when a lion roareth. So we pick that up also in Revelation chapter 5 and verse 5, because Johanan depicts him in Revelation 5 as the lion of the tribe of Judah. So again, we're looking at the evidence that frame this messenger as Yeshua. He cried with a loud voice. And when the seven thunders had uttered their voices, because Revelation chapter 10 and verse 3 said, And he cried with a loud voice, as when a lion roareth, and when he had cried, seven thunders uttered their voices. And when the seven thunders had uttered their voices, I was about to write, and I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, Seal up those things which the seven thunders uttered, and write them not. Don't write them, John. Don't write them. Verse 8, come with me to verse 8 of the same passage. And a voice which I heard from heavens spoke unto me again and said, Go and take the little book, which is open in the hand of the angels which standeth upon the sea and upon the earth. And I went unto the angel and said unto him, Give me the little book. And he said unto me, Take it and eat it up, and it shall make thy belly bitter, but it shall be in thy mouth sweet as honey. It is interesting that this book here is now open. And if we turn to Revelation, well, not Revelation, but Daniel chapter 12, we see that Daniel here is told that he should close the book. Close the book. Because what's going to happen subsequently, it's not for his time. Verse 9 of chapter 12 says, "And he said, Go thy way, Daniel, for the words are closed up and sealed till the time of the end." Daniel was given a vision, but the word says that Daniel did not fully comprehend the vision that he received. And he was told to close the book. So Daniel really did not comprehend what we are now understanding. In fact, the word says Daniel was made sick. He was made sick. Verse 4 of chapter 12, "But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall increase. Then I, Daniel, looked, and behold, there stood other two, the one on the side of the bank of the river, and the other on the side of the bank of the river. And one said to the man clothed in linen, which was upon the waters of the river, How long shall it be to the end of these wonders? So he's given a vision, but he doesn't understand it, and we're made to understand that in the end, verse 10, many shall be purified, and many made white and tried, but the wicked shall do wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand, but the wise shall understand. There's going to be wicked things being done. And that drives me to the book of Zachariah, the book of Zachariah. And so when you read the book of Zachariah, and I mean specifically chapter 5, let's go there. Then I turned and lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, a flying scroll. And he said unto me, What seest thou? And I answered, and see a flying roll, the length thereof is 20 cubits, and the breadth thereof 10 cubits. Then said he unto me, This is the curse that goeth forth over the face of the whole earth, for everyone that stealeth shall be cut off on this side according to it, and everyone that sweareth shall be cut off on that side according to it. I will bring it forth, saith Yahweh of hosts, and it shall enter into the house of the thief, and into the house of him that sweareth falsely by my name, and it shall remain in the midst of the house, and shall consume it with the timber thereof, and the stones thereof. Let's hold it there and extrapolate from that what is being said here by the prophet Zachariah. It's an end time book. Chapter 5 is indeed an intriguing chapter. It's a prophecy that has foxed many people. We read, Then I turned and raised my eyes, and there a flying scroll. The prophet says he sees a flying scroll, and it carries a curse. And the curse is two sins. There are many sins that Yah condemns, but this curse is about the thief and the one who wears Yah's name falsely, perjury. And as we look at this in the context of what is happening in the world, we get the impression that this has much to do with commerce. Because that's where most of the pilfering and thieving takes place. The measures are not given as they should. And one of the issues regarding the tariffs is that the countries are not playing fair. Some are exacting tariffs on others, but don't want it to be exacted on them. And so the whole process here, as we see unfolding in front of our eyes, was intended to bring about a level playing field. But as a consequence, we have seen the stock market and in different countries shivering. And people are talking about inflation and all manner of economic tragedies. And so the thief, you make something at cost price, say for example, $5, and you sell it for $20. One wonders, how does Yah perceive this? And you maximize that profit. And every so often, it goes up. The thief. We don't see that as thieving because the culture is so geared up to the maximization of profits that it awards people who are skillful pilferers. You go to buy a car, and the salesman looks at your trade-in, and he gives you the minimum price for it. But he maximizes the cost of his car that he's selling you. The world doesn't see that as anything. And at the end of the month, they make him the best salesman of the month and give him an award. The word says that's thieving. We've got to understand these things. It's not how man sees it, but it's how Yah sees it. And so let's look at the other aspect of it. Yah says the world is mine, and the cattle on 1,000 hills, they're mine, says Yah. It says the earth and all its inhabitants are his. He created them out of nothing. Ex nihilo. And so we are simply caretakers of Yah's estate. I don't care how much the billionaire has, how much he has accumulated over time. It all belongs to Yah. And Yah expects all to return a tenth. And it was interesting as we look at the tariffs, the president had put a base rate of 10%, a tithe, which I found very interesting. And Yah says bring ye all the tithe, all the 10% into my house, so there will be food for my people. But yet, we hear many calls from the UN and other agencies trying to meet the needs of the famines in diverse places in Africa and in India and Caribbean and in different countries. We see that. But nobody, these conglomerate companies, they don't return to Yah. And many of them, if they do give to charity, they do it so that they can get a tax write-off. And so Yah says, a curse has gone out into the earth on the thief and the one who wears my name falsely. And that refers to the believers. You can't say you're a believer and then you turn around and ignore the word of Yah and his laws. So if you come with me to the book of Deuteronomy, because we see there in chapter 28 the curses. Yah says he will curse and he will bless. So come with me to chapter 28 of Deuteronomy. It's a lengthy passage. We won't go through it. Yah says, and it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of Yah Elohim, to observe and to do all commandments. Did you hear that? Which I command thee this day, that Yah thy Elohim will set thee on a high above the nations on the earth. If you listen and do my commandments, if you keep my feast days on my Sabbaths, I will make you peculiarly different and blessed from all the nations of the world. He's talking about Yisrael, and I'm not talking about contemporary Israel in the sense that the nation or the people claiming to be Israelites now. I'm talking to the believers who accept Yeshua according to Galatians 6 and verse 16. These are the children of Israel, prophetically. And these blessings shall come to thee and overtake thee if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of Elohim. Blessed are they who are in the city, and blessed shall thou be in the field. Blessed shall be the fruit of thy body, and the fruit of the ground, and the fruit of thy cattle, the increase of thy kind, and the flocks of thy sheep. Blessed shall be thy basket and thy store. So we see that many of these billionaires worldwide have been blessed, but they've broken the covenant. Many of that which they accumulate did not come by honest means or by the way in which they treat their workers, mistreat them, in that they give them low wages and ask them to work long hours to make profits so that a new yacht can be ordered. Yah looks at that and he says, I'm sending a curse out. Verse 15 of Deuteronomy 20 says, but it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of Yah Elohim, to observe to do his commandments. See, the whole thing has to do with the law. They are not keeping the commandments. If they were keeping the commandments, they would not be stealing. So the third and the eighth commandment They have trouble with it. They wear his name falsely. They say this is a country under Yah. Well, if you are being led by Yah, you wouldn't steal. And you would reflect his character in the way that he asks you to be honest. Verse 16, curse shall be in the city, and curse shall be in the field. Curse shall be thy basket and the store. Curse shall be the fruit of thy body, and the fruit of the land, and increase thy kind and flocks of the sheep. Cursed shall thou be when thou comest in, and cursed shall be thou when thou goest out. And you get the distinct impression here that a curse is currently on the earth. You get that impression distinctly because the nations are not getting on with each other, and they're exacting maximum profits. And the lowly one, the poor man, he looks, but he doesn't understand what's happening because he's overcome by what's going on. And so tariff is holding sway. Now, tariff is a tax on goods bought from other countries. So when, for example, you hear someone say, well, I'm going to put a 25% tax on a particular item or goods from another country, they're really saying, let's assume that the item cost $10 and they're going to exact 25% tariff on that. That means that goods will be sold for an extra $2.50. And so it's not the people, the manufacturers who make, pay the cost because they offload that onto the consumer. And so the word is very, very clear that when the righteous are in rule, the people rejoice. But when the wicked are in rule, the word says that the people mourn. Now, you can look across the world, whatever country you choose to, and see where people are mourning or whether they are rejoicing. Very few countries you find people rejoicing. So it's almost as if there is a blanket of wickedness covering the earth, and commensurate with that is a curse going out into the world. Let's come back to Zachariah chapter 5. Let's read verse 3 again. Then said he unto me, this is the curse that goeth forth over the face of the whole earth, for everyone that stealeth shall be cut off as on this side according to it, and everyone that sweareth shall be cut off as on the side according to it. I will bring it forth, saith Yah of hosts, and it shall enter into the house of the thief, and into the house of him that sweareth falsely by my name, and it shall remain in the midst of the house, and shall consume it with the timber thereof, and the stones thereof. Then the angel that talked with me went forth and said unto me, lift up now thine eyes and see what is this that goeth forth. And I said, what is it? And he said, this is an ephah that goeth forth. He said, moreover, this is their resemblance through all the earth. And behold, there was lifted up a talent of lead, and this is a woman that sitteth in the midst of the ephah. So you get a picture here that is so happily described in Revelation chapter 17. You have the commerce aspect of this, the thieves. And then you have a woman with an ephah, depicted here in Revelation as a woman riding the beast. Many people think today that the laws of Yah have been done away with, abolished, abrogated. But Yeshua made it clear that think not that I have come to destroy the laws of the prophets, but I have come to fulfill them. David tells us that that which is spiritual is of Yah, and the law is perfect. The law is spiritual, and it comes from Yah. And so the people have ignored the law, and they are just doing as they please. But Zachariah reminds us, he has sent out a curse. It shall enter the house of the thief, and those who swear falsely, stealing and lying. They are primary impulses of the age in which we live. In fact, it seems as if people are far more ready to tell lies than they are ready to tell the truth. And so we have this generation of cheat, swindlers, defrauders, embezzlers, rip-offs, burglaries, larceny. It continues. That's the age in which we live. And so Yah provided us the information in Deuteronomy chapter 28, where he says, if you obey me, you will reap the benefits. But if you deny me and pay no attention to my laws, then you get the curse of the law. I want you to understand that. What's the curse of the law? Paul tells us in Romans that all have sinned, Romans 3:23, and have come short, including the billionaire. They've come very short of the glory of Yah. But we are told that the wages of sin is death. The curse of the law is death. Yah sent his son to die for us, to pay the enormous penalty for sin. So we need not steal. We owe a debt that we couldn't pay, and Yah sent his son to redeem us from the death penalty and restoring us to the favor of Yah. Therefore, having been justified, Paul writes, made right by faith in Yeshua's sacrifice and death for us, we have peace with Yah through our Master Yeshua. If you read that in Romans 5:1. We have peace because the debt that we owe, we couldn't pay. So he sent his son to pay that debt. And he saves us. For if when we were enemies, we were reconciled to Yah by the death of his son, much more having reconciled, we should be what? Saved by his life. That's Romans 5, 9, and 10. But that's not what we're doing. And the irony of this is this: Yeshua paid the price. We couldn't pay it. And he reconciled us to his Father because we were thieves. So if someone pays a debt for you, why would you steal from that person? Which is exactly what this generation is doing. That's exactly what we're doing. This is why Paul writes, I have been crucified with Yeshua. It is no longer I who live, but it is Yeshua who lives in me. Because having recognized what Yeshua has done for us, paying that debt, we ought to be willing to do what he asks us to do, to keep his Sabbaths. And I mean not only the seventh-day Sabbath, but the festivals that are coming up starting on Shabbat. But the majority, this woman in the ephah, she is playing with the merchants. She's riding the beast in Revelation 17. And so the curse is on those merchants who steal, and also the one who swears falsely, the believer who says, I belong to Yeshua, but their action doesn't demonstrate that. So we've got to be very, very careful. And as I ponder that, as I indicated earlier, that if this tariffs game continues unabated, it could well lead gradually at a pace of a centipede to Revelation chapter 13. Come with me there. Revelation chapter 13. Starting at verse 11, the word says, And I beheld another beast coming out of the earth. Remember, when we read in Zachariah earlier, Yeshua put his foot on the sea and on the earth. Don't miss that. Keep your eyes on Revelation 13:11, but come with me now to Revelation 13:1. And I stood up on the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his head the name of blasphemy. So Yeshua put one foot upon this, where this beast is coming from, and the other foot on the beast that comes out of Revelation 13:11. That's what Revelation 10 tells us. Moreover, he points us to Daniel chapter 12, a book that was closed. It's now open. And Yohanan was told, take the book, eat it up. Saturate yourself in it, learn it, and understand it. Daniel did not understand it, and prior to that, the book could not have been understood until the end time. And Daniel wants us to know a time is coming that no other nation has seen. I believe we're in that time. And a curse is coming out on the world because they have not kept the covenant. And so this beast that comes out of the earth, it says it's like a lamb. That's in its infancy, the earliest stage. But soon it will speak like a dragon. Now we know According to Revelation chapter 12, the dragon is Satan. So this beast here will speak like Satan. And how does a country speak to its people? Through its policies. And he exercised the powers of the first beast before him, and caused the earth and them which dwell there to worship the beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of man. This beast is powerful. So if we're going to identify this beast, we've got to look for a beast that is of such power that no one can contend with it. It will have strong military force. It will be wealthy. And it would have great influence, because the word says he deceived all the people. It's very deceptive. Verse 14, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by means of miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast which had the wound by the sword and did live. And he had power to give unto the image of the beast, and the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. So this power here is leading the people by way of deception to worship the beast, because Satan's power here is at work. And that's why Paul speaks to us in Ephesians when he said we ought to take note that we don't wrestle with flesh and blood, but principalities and powers in high places. That many of the people today, leaders and others, are so indwelled with satanic influences that many of the things that they do is inexplicable. And verse 16 says it here, and he caused it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. I want to make this point because scholars and theologians, they have a tendency to see this as an individual. The word said it's a beast. It's a kingdom. So if it's a kingdom, it's not so much an individual, but you will see the individual behave in such a way as to reflect the wickedness of that kingdom. That's what it said. A beast at 7 heads. That's a kingdom. There's 7 kingdoms. Daniel tells us that, starting with Egypt. And so this beast here, it says it doesn't matter whether you small or you're great, whether you're on Social Security or you're a billionaire, whether you're rich or you're poor, bond or free, you will receive a mark in the right hand or in the forehead. And no man might buy or sell, save he who had the mark of the name of the beast or the number of his name. So the beast is given an agenda. And so here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. What is clear here is that which is going on, it will not stop. not until it reaches its ultimate climax. That's what's going to happen. It's like a dripping faucet. Yeshua said in Matthew 24, you're going to hear of wars and rumors of the same. But he says that's only the beginning of things. Earthquakes in diverse places. Tragedies will multiply, and the love of many will wax cold. People will be lovers of themselves and lovers of money than they are the things of Yah. They want to accumulate, invest in stocks. And so all eyes are on the stock market, whether you're in Japan, London, America, China, stock market. And then you hear almost hourly, and the Dow Jones rallied. But nobody's rallying to read the word of Yah. They don't see that a curse is out on the earth for the thieves and those who swear falsely. And those who swear falsely, we must not omit, we must not preclude the courthouses, because often they're the ones who break the covenant of marriage. Two people comes before Yah, they get married and decide that only the sleep of death would separate them. But a couple of years in the marriage, they decide they don't love each other anymore. And nobody seems to think, well, what will Yah say? Yah has blessed the wedding and the marriage because they invited their friends and they invited their relatives, and Yah was present according to Malachi. I was there at the wife of your youth. But now you go downtown and you ask a secular judge to undo what the divine judge has done. You've lied. You've broken the covenant. You've worn Yah's name falsely. He says the curse is out on you. And so tonight, as we look into these things, we have good reason to lament. And so if you come with me to the book of Lamentation, chapter 3, I am the man that had seen affliction by the rod of his wrath. He hath led me and brought me into darkness, but not into light. Surely against me is he turned. He turneth his hand against me all day. My flesh and my skin hath he made whole. He hath broken my bones. He hath builded against me, and compasseth me with gall and travail. He hath set me in dark places, as they that be dead of old. He hath hedged me about, that I cannot get out. He hath made my chain heavy. And that's the kind of word picture we get of the generation that we live in. People are hemmed in by chain of circumstances. In light of what's going on, people cannot afford the high prices for food, for their rent, their mortgage, their car payment. And all that is happening, the leaders are exacting tariffs on each other, and the people are mourning. Who will listen to their cry? Verse 31 of chapter 3, Lamentation. For Yah will not cast off forever, but though he cause grief, yet will he have compassion according to the multitude of his mercies. For he doth not afflict willingly, nor grieve the children of men. No, to crush under his feet all the prisoners of the earth, to turn aside the right of a man before the face of the Most High, to subvert a man in his cause, Yah approveth not. Who is he that saith, and it cometh to pass, when Yah commanded it not? None. Yah says the earth is his, and every idle word spoken, he's going to judge the world. He's going to judge the people. And despite the fact that you see leaders all over the world behaving as if they are the contemporary Nebuchadnezzar, Yah says, the earth is mine, and I will judge you for what you've done. Every man will get pay according to his work. So let's close on this. Come with me to the book of Jude, chapter 1, verse 3. Beloved, when I gave all diligence to write unto you of the common salvation, it was needful for me to write unto you and to exhort you that you should earnestly contend for the faith which was once delivered unto the saints. Did you hear that? That which you have is the same that was given to the saints, our fathers before us. For there are certain men crept in unaware. Certain men crept in unaware, who were before of old ordained to this condemnation, unrighteous men, turning the grace of our Yah into lasciviousness, and denying the only Yah Elohim and our Master Yeshua Messiah. I will therefore put you in remembrance, though you once knew this, how that Yah, having saved the people out of the land of Egypt, afterwards destroy them that believe not. Now, verse 14 says, and Enoch, that's the seventh from Adam, prophesied of these, saying, behold, Yah cometh with 10,000 of his saints to execute what? Judgment upon all. Upon how many? All. And to convince all that are unrighteously among them of all their unrighteous deeds which they have unrighteously committed, and of all their hard speeches which unrighteous sinners have spoken against him. These are murmurers, complainers, walking about their own lust, and their mouth speaketh great swelling words, having men's person in admiration because of the advantage. Did you get that? They admire men. They have great admiration for men, but none for Yah. And so Yah says, I'm coming to judge. Let's read it again, verse 14. And Enoch also, the seventh from Adam, prophesied of these, behold, Yah cometh with 10,000 of his saints to execute judgment. That means some of these saints will be on the judicial bench, judging the very people who had been mistreating them all these years. Yah says, if you obey me, you will reign with me in my kingdom. But as we read in Zachariah 5 earlier, we see the woman in the ephah is going on her way to Babylon. That's what the word says. The question was asked, where are they going? Where is she taking this ephah with a lead on top of it? She's going to Shinar. My encouragement is that both those who swear falsely, claiming to be believers, who are riding the beast, the commercial beast, we need to come off that ship. We need to, because we're told that Yah is coming to judge, to execute judgment. Understand that. That means you've already been tried, and he's coming to execute the judgment, because the wages of sin is death. And the gift of Yah is eternal life. In Yeshua's name I pray. Amen.